Did Katie say that Megan's coming? Megan is ghosting her so that she doesn't have to answer the question.
She did not respond.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Kind of guessed. All right, let's do it.
Welcome to the CouncilCast. This is episode 94, being recorded on September 24th, 2019. The Council is now in session, and as with every week, we will make arbitrary decisions about topics on science, technology, and random shit with little background and next to no expertise. All CouncilCast decisions are final and have no bearing on anything whatsoever. So, welcome to tonight's episode. We are, fortunately, one person down. I'd say that's probably pretty fortunate.
Did you say fortunately?
Yes. I'm not sure why.
That will happen.
But anyway, we're going to start off with Sweden has lost its tallest peak. Apparently, Sweden.
How tall was it?
2,095.6 meters.
Not a great punchline.
What happened to it?
It's pretty tall.
Apparently, it was that tall because it was like a glacier, so it had snow and ice at the top of the mountain, and it melted, and it lost 4 feet.
That'll happen.
Climate change is scary stuff right now. Have you heard? I'm going to blank on her name because I'm bad at names, but the 16-year-old kid from...
Yeah, the one who rowed the boat.
Mm-hmm. And he's like talking about stuff, and I was like, oh, good for her. And then I listened to her speech the other day that she gave at the UN, and like gave me chills. And I was like, I don't think that I need to start recycling everything. I'm not making garbage no more. And also, I'm walking everywhere. I'm not going to, but I should.
I think about it. That's good enough.
Wishing something were better is good enough.
You know what I found out is that when you recycle, like when you get junk mail and crap like that, and you recycle your envelope, that little plastic window in the envelope that makes the envelopes impossible for the recyclers to recycle the envelope.
They just need to try harder.
Apparently, because it's so thin and plasticky, it gets stuck in the recycling machine, and so like they just throw it away. I'm like, well, shit, I've been doing that for forever.
I don't believe that. I mean, I believe you've been doing it forever.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that they can't use it for something.
Hear me out on this, though, for a second. We talk about needing more jobs for people. Think about how many jobs we could create
if we recycled.
If we really bought into the whole recycling clean energy thing, because everyone's like, well, it's a lot of work to make clean energy. It's a lot of work to recycle. Do you know that the plastic windows inside of your envelopes make it impossible for those pieces of paper to be recycled? Not impossible. Not if we hired the right people.
True.
People who needed jobs. Capitalism, I don't understand why capitalists haven't really latched onto this idea of making a gajillion dollars off of making the planet cleaner. If the right mega billionaire was like, you know what? I don't have enough money. I think that what I need to do
We don't know any mega billionaires, do we?
We text or
Elon Musk.
Tweet or whatever we do every week a mega billionaire.
You're right. We should tell him. Use your money to make clean. Oh, he's already working on that.
He is. I mean, he recycled his stupid car parts into making weed eaters and leaf blowers and stuff like that. So he's trying to save the planet. One Tesla at a time.
How many bottles do you have to recycle, though, to make Sweden's peak go higher again?
Oh, that's never going to happen.
Are we beyond that? Is it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. According to that little girl, she was talking about how she's like, there are only 4, like they gave the report that there was like a 65% chance of limiting the global temperature increase to 1.5 degrees. So the temperature is going to rise. It could stop from where we are used to, it could stop 1.5 degrees warmer, which would change things considerably. But it would not be
Are we talking degrees Fahrenheit or degrees Celsius?
That's a good question.
Or degrees Kelvin?
It's not Kelvin. That would be horrifying. I believe it's Celsius because it's science, which is unfortunate because I don't know how much that is. But I think it's more than Fahrenheit because we have finer degrees of temperature change in Fahrenheit than they do in Celsius. So
that would be, something like that.
So 1.5 degrees with a maximum of it's 400 billion of carbon dioxide release from pollutants and etc. She said that was a year ago that they said that, and we are already down to having less than 350 billion. So it is dropped dramatically, and she said it will take at this rate, less than 8 years for us to get to the point where our 65% chance has diminished, and we no longer have a chance. It will just continue to go up past 1.5, and we're not sure where it will stop. So
do you think that humans would adapt to the warmer temperatures?
I think that Canada is going to become very populated very soon.
What about all the people who currently live on the equator?
I don't care how hot it gets. I don't think you're going to be moving to Canada.
The thing about how hot it could get isn't as scary, though. It's is it going to be really hot? Yeah, it's going to be really hot. Could it be super uncomfortably hot? Yes. In India currently, it is. There are already places in India where it hits 120 degrees. And that's without the temperature increase happening. And so there are parts of the world where it is already scary, uncomfortably hot, and people are surviving there. Are they thriving there, having picnics out on the lawn all the time? No.
How many people live in India?
Lots. There are lots of people who live there.
A trillion people? I think they're thriving.
They probably have more people than the U.S. has.
I think so.
Actually, would this help reduce the population in places like India because they can now move into other areas that were previously uninhabitable, like northern Russia, that currently has a population of 5?
Which has currently a population of 10?
5. Yeah, 10. There are more people in North Dakota than there are in
and those are people that just got lost in Canada and now are somehow trying to get out of North Dakota. So
and they're just stuck there.
I mean, the thing about that is, theoretically, yes, they could say, you know what, we can't live here anymore. We can move up to northern Russia. That'd be great. But looking at our geopolitical climate currently, that's never going to happen. It's not a realistic option. And so, but the global temperature increase isn't as scary as the ramifications that it has for weather patterns. You look at the number of hurricanes that have been happening in the last few years and the devastation that they've caused. There have been hurricanes every single year. We know it's hurricane season, but not to the extent of, oh, wow, we still have like 4 years worth of cleanup every time a hurricane comes through to get back too close to normal. It's just one example.
Do you think that we could harness the energy of all of these weather patterns to make more green energy, like hurricane-powered wind turbines or ice glacier melting hydro turbines?
That type of thinking is going to be the only way that we're going to be able to recover from a global temperature increase of 4, 5, 6, 7 degrees above where we're at right now. And the only way that it's going to peak and we find a holding point on that is if we start doing green energy so that we reduce our emissions, or just exterminates the majority of the population of human beings, and then we eliminate our excess emissions because there are just fewer human beings to cause havoc. So
what if
decrease surplus population?
Yeah, there is.
You left out the third option. What if we use the green energy generated by the hurricanes and stuff like that and used them to just power giant air conditioners and use that to cool?
Giant outdoor air conditioners. I asked the teacher about that one time. I was like, what would happen if we just opened our doors and ran like an entire city New York City opens all their doors, runs their temperature. Like
there is heat output, right? Like, I can't just put the portable air conditioner in my room and have it go. I have to output the heat outside, or else it gets hotter in here.
But I believe the question was, how old were you when you came up with this idea, Silas?
I was like 14 years old. So I said,
How old?
14 years old. So I said, what would happen if we tried to?
What if we put the radiator in space?
Well, I asked him,
It's cold in space.
what's going to happen? Like heat, though, like in the wintertime, you're creating heat and you're trying to heat up the city enough that the temperature doesn't sink dramatically. We're not obviously going to create it so that it's 80 degrees outside in the middle of January, but would it
trying to create global warming?
Yes, I was trying to create global warming by just having people open their doors and let all the heat out.
We're gonna heat up the ice cubes.
He explained something to me, and it's science, blah blah blah. I don't know. I got a 19 on my science section in the ACT, so don't ask me science questions.
I think that's I think that's a good point, and I think that people should probably be paying more attention to this. And maybe if somebody could come up with some way to recycle better, this would be a thumbs up for me.
Yeah, China's not taking our recycling anymore, though. So shit's just going straight to the landfill.
Hey, thumbs up for me because what a bunch of posers that they think they're mountains tall just because there's ice on it. Thank goodness global warming. Thank goodness global warming.
Man, Brian coming in with the slams.
Got rid of that ice, and now we know they're not the tallest mountain in the world.
Like, that mountain was garbage anyway. Man, what a bunch of thumbs down for Brian.
Ouch. Tough crowd.
Thumbs down for
I like how it blurs out your thumb. Like you've done something really wrong with that thumb.
Thumbs down.
Well, maybe they could try to hide the mountain next time by painting it black, using the new blackest black of any black ever made.
The new blackest black that what?
That ever was black.
Oh, if they're using spray paint,
Fanta
that's going to
black?
hurt that's going to also hurt the climate because of chlorofluorocarbons.
Nope, this is totally not spray paint.
Oh, perfect.
So Vanta Black, which I think we have talked about on this podcast before, which is supposed to be the blackest of black, has been supplanted by a new black created by MIT engineers.
Dope.
They claim that it is 10 times blacker than Vanta Black.
Whoa, that's pretty black.
So apparently,
Vanta Black is weird, man.
Yeah.
Like you see, it makes if you see a sphere painted that color, it just makes it look two-dimensional.
So yeah, Vanta Black apparently will absorb 99.965% of light, and this new material captures 99.995.
Isn't the Vanta Black stuff also extremely toxic?
Probably, but
because
they're all a car that way.
They're all using don't they use fucking carbon nanotubes to trap the light and have it dissipate and stuff like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you hear that BMW painted a car Vanta?
Oh, I saw it.
It's like,
yeah,
it's pretty black.
They messed up. They should have waited for this material to come out. I wonder, can you buy this as a paint?
And just paint. Oh my God! Paint my freaking movie room in that color.
Yeah.
There would be no reflections whatsoever. It would be
dope.
It would be so dope.
You never find your way out of there.
I know. I'd run into the walls and then die of inhalation. I'm taking a survey right now for a thing I just backed, the Homeworld 3 thing. If anybody cares. And it says, what phones do you own? And Windows Phone is at the top of the list. I don't know about that.
What? So this article I don't understand. So there's apparently Vanta Black is owned by a guy. Like he owns the rights to it?
Yep, that's accurate.
And he painted a hole An 8-foot hole in the floor of an art museum, black, so it doesn't look like a hole and somebody fell into it?
Oh, weird.
Why? I don't understand. I mean, I guess it's cool that black is. We got a new black. I mean, I'm not sure. What do you think the purpose of having the blackest material is?
To impress your emo friends?
Like actual point, like why do it?
Like, yeah. I mean, they talk about there's well, I guess optical. I guess that makes sense. Like telescopes, I'm sure, and yeah.
They're trying to recreate a black hole. End of statement.
All right. Good job. Thumbs up.
That's what that is right there. That picture, that's a picture of a black hole.
Oh, that was...
There's only one thing you can do there.
That was the mess up. Somebody, they should have called that the black hole installation, because as somebody fell into it, they could probably never get back out.
There you go.
Thumbs up for super black stuff.
Dope.
It's pretty cool. Find videos of it if you've never seen it. It messes with your brain.
It looks really weird.
Mm-hmm.
What else is really weird is apparently doing your job and then getting arrested for it.
That's pretty common.
Is this
I
going to
can
be?
think of like
is
a
this
half
going to
dozen
be
jobs
the?
off the top of my head where that happens.
Is this going to be the security auditor guys?
Yes.
God damn it!
Those guys.
So
those guys.
I may have opinions on this.
Yeah.
So I haven't read up on the latest of this, but you can kind of give us the background, Matt.
Well, I'm going to preface this heavily with I am not like on the most up to date on it, but just my general gut check when this happened was seriously so every secure physical pen tester that's testing the physical security of a building expects to get arrested. What's the newest on this story though? Because the crazy part last I knew was that the charges hadn't been dropped. It's not unusual to get arrested. What's unusual is that you don't once everything's verified, you don't get out quickly and the charges aren't dropped. The fact that they were still facing charges last I looked is batshit.
So let me understand this. He was hired to test their security, and
two people from a very well-known testing company, like a very well-known player in this space.
So they
you can find
bypassed all their security, and now they're in trouble.
They got into the building, and the alarm went off, and then the sheriff showed up and arrested him. That's all fairly normal. I don't think any physical penetration tester expects to never get arrested. They don't, but they carry sheets of paper with them that show the contract.
What's their title?
Do you want me to say pen test again?
No, the physical
penetration tester.
What a job title.
So yeah, you guys all think this is funny, but I got it out of my system a long time ago. The word pen test is not funny anymore. So
you just giggled.
You're laughing though.
Only because of how funny you guys think it is. It's so anyway, what it looked like last I saw, and so somebody at work actually messaged when the second Des Moines Register article came out that I saw about this. They actually messaged the author and got them to issue a correction because they had listed something a little weird about what the contract said the testing hours could be. The initial version of the article said that the stuff was only supposed to happen between 7 and 7. And that was not accurate for the physical portion of the test. It said in the contract, and I'd have to go pull it, but if I remember correctly, so don't quote me on this. If I remember correctly, the contract said something until into the evening.
It says can be during the day and evening.
So depending on how, at most, depending, there's two aspects to this. So like the question is did they breach contract by doing it outside? And first of all, this is why contract language shouldn't be vague. Don't put into the evening on there. You put the actual hours, or if you mean all the time, put 24 hours a day as the scope. Don't scope it to evening, because that's up to interpretation. But anyway, so there's a couple things in play. One is, did they break scope by what time did they get arrested? It was like midnight or something.
Yeah, it was
something
late
like
at
that,
night.
or like
midnight,
So
something.
is that the evening? Evening is a very cultural term. Like, what does evening mean for you where you grew up? Like,
True.
whatever. Like, at what point does it turn to nighttime?
Depends on what show I'm watching and whether or not I'm in my PJs.
And all of that, like, so if I would say that if this happened at my place of work, like if they got arrested outside of like this, like we would so not be making a stink out of this. Like it sounds like the crux of the problem is that the county is pissed that the state did something
and didn't tell them,
or maybe they didn't have the jurisdiction to like hire these people to test that thing. Like I saw some people saying like the building's not owned by the state, so it's not for them to do that. But like I don't know how that interaction plays out. Like, sure, maybe the building's owned by the county, but due to how some other stuff shakes out within how the government's set up, maybe they do have the authority to hire testers to come in and like to assess the physical security of the building. I'm definitely not an expert on that. That's going to be like what the court shakes out. But like the fact that and if these charges, what's the article you linked? Is it an older one or is it a brand new one?
It was from the 19th, so last Thursday.
Yeah, I haven't specifically looked to see if there's anything since then, but if the charges are still active against these guys, that's just crazy. Like if the county has a problem with what the state did, like I don't see how these, like, maybe you could argue that the company in question that these people worked for should have done some due diligence on who owned the building if that's in question. And whether they were even allowed to legally do that. Because, like, I can't just call a testing company up and say, I want to assess the physical security of Blaine's house. Or, like, just pick a building at random and then those guys get off scot-free, right? Like, pretty clearly the testing company in question would have violated something if that in the ridiculous scenario that I just put out. It is much more unclear when the state hired them to test something that the county might own. Like, I really don't know how that should shake out. I don't feel like it should shake out in a way that these testers still have charges levied against them. That's crazy.
Yeah. Somebody hired me to do this thing. They said it was legit. It was the government.
But at the same time, like, I have this weird, like, I see it from both sides. Like I don't agree with what the county's doing. Like, if it were me, I would say they should drop the charges. And if they've got beef with the state, they should take it up with the state.
Yeah.
And the state, I think the state's apologized, right? Like, they were like, oh, we're so sorry. Like,
yeah, I think the state seems to be saying that.
Like, so but I totally get the county's side. Like, if they truly believe that, like, in their autonomy in this matter, and like that the state had no business like authorizing entry into their property, like, technically these guys were breaking and entering. Like, if that, I mean, maybe it's not for me to say, but I can see how they could try to make that argument in a court. It's actually a really interesting case. So I'm very interested to see where it goes. And just because I'm close to the subject matter, I like totally feel for the guys that are involved, because they've got to just be like, you got to be kidding me. Like, because it happens, you get arrested, but then like it shakes out, and you prove you're doing like what you're doing is like legit and like you were hired to do it and like all that stuff.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it's actually I love the physical part of it. Like if I could choose anything to do from what I'm doing now that isn't something like, you know, be an astronaut or a pilot, it would be I love the physical aspect of trying to break into buildings and like test the physical security of places.
I'd be so good at that.
Oh,
I can limbo.
You would actually be really good at it, I think. You would be fantastic. I'm not joking. Like it requires you to be able to just like because most of it's social engineering. So just like playing upon people's nature to want to be helpful if you're dealing with them, but that's not what these guys did. They probably picked a lock and then went
Tripped
from
a
there.
wire. I mean,
so
it's you have to bring a can of aerosol. You have to bring cans of spray paint to hit the cameras.
So I'm curious, and this is kind of morbid curiosity,
Nice
is whether
vandalism.
whether the company in question still has to write up the report on how secure the premises was, because so far pretty good. Like cops showed up and arrested him.
Actually, I mean, I think the guys might have a little bit of time to fill out the report while they're in jail.
Sounds like a decent pass to me. But like, I mean, these types of engagements the scope can be written in pretty much any way you want. Like, we were actually discussing this at work. I said something like, how did we get on this topic? Well, I mean, we were talking about this, but then I brought up something like, well, how far can you go? Like what happens if it's not like in your contract that like your job is to like see how secure the building is,
right?
And what happens if you're like, well, like I could break this window, and then
right,
like so, and then like like gain access to these things that I can kind of see through the window. And what was told to me that made total sense is that like sometimes like you may come across that, and usually physical damage to the building is like scoped out, like purposeful physical damage, because you don't like that's pretty silly. You don't
going around smashing windows.
And if you do break something, like it'll be on the tester to pay for it and stuff like that. But like then I brought up like, okay, say, and this is another ridiculous example. Say somebody's hired to physically test like the some mega government agency, like the Pentagon building or the NSA buildings.
Oh man,
like
that'd be awesome.
Like, what if you like the fact that
let's do it.
The fact that you are even close enough to consider breaking the window to get in is in and of itself a problem. Like, so then like what somebody at work said is how you would do this is, and somebody who's had some experience with this, not a ton, but some, said something like what you would normally do in a situation like that is you would call, like there's a contact that you call for thing. You would contact whoever your contact point is at the company. No, the company that you're doing the engagement for, or the organization that you're doing engagement for, and you would say, hey, like, there's this window right here that I'm pretty sure that I could break and get in with nothing, like no alarms going off, like there's no cameras on it. Like, can we? And then what might happen in that scenario is you guys work out okay, we'll put you in the building at that starting spot, like on the other side of the window, and then you see where you can get from there. So you don't actually have to go break the goddamn window. But
I was thinking if you use some of that black paint.
Oh yeah,
you can make a circle and just
walk right through.
Walk right through. Walk right through.
What was that? Who Framed Roger Rabbit? They had that stuff. You just throw it on the wall.
Throw the wall.
Stick in.
Make some of those holes at the factory.
That'd be fantastic.
It does look like the guys did get out of jail.
Yeah, they got bailed out, and somebody at work.
Did they break it? No.
Did they break out? No, I'm sure they took their.
The security at the jail is dismal.
And I'm sure that was a case of either they posted and are expensing the bond, or the company in question just paid it.
Definitely expensing the bond.
They were supposed to be at a court hearing though yesterday. It sounds like in the same courthouse that they were caught breaking into. So,
were they at it?
I don't know. I can't find anything about it from yesterday.
Yeah, I haven't been following this religiously, but I am very interested in the outcome because it.
But the jail sucks. We got out. That's hilarious.
Yeah,
we have a very detailed report for both of you.
I want to make this movie, but without the part where they get caught. But I want them to like this. This feels like, I mean, it feels very Ocean's 11. The premise, right?
Like sneakers.
Well, yeah. Oh, sneakers. Yeah, I want to do that because they were paid to break into stuff. What I didn't like about sneakers was I wanted it to be more heists. Like I wanted it to be more like, we're so good at this that they do it a couple times throughout the movie, but like the culmination of those created a bigger plot line where it was actually that they were hired to do each of these jobs, but they were purposely seeking out these companies because they needed stuff from each of them to own illegal, something like that. Yeah. Don't know.
I like Rambo's style of breaking into places.
One guy, a knife, maybe a bow, and some arrows with dynamite. And a headband.
Gasoline.
And he's ready to go.
Headband. It's headband. That's right.
Pretty soon, the entire city is dead.
Hey, we need to
women and children, but they had it coming.
We need an update on this in a week or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm very. This is one we should do updates on because like the outcome. Like I'm hoping that everything just kind of falls apart and the county is like, yeah, these charters, like, yeah, they should take this shit up with the state if they believe that the state did not have the authority to authorize this.
Yeah, I think we should follow up on it too because I'm really feeling like we as CouncilCast should start advertising that we are good at this.
We should not.
Why not?
You know, I'm
Are you not supposed to advertise as like secretly telling people that you secretly?
You know what? All of our podcast listeners, we're really good at this.
You know, I give it a thumbs up to the guys for trying and being successful, and I hope they had a lot of time to write their report.
To write their memoirs. Sounds exciting.
Can't wait to read it.
Yeah, thumbs up, guys.
Thumbs up for the guys.
Criminals.
Yeah, the criminals.
Yes. Well,
speaking of criminals.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how that one works.
Speaking of criminals,
if you wanted to break into something with a nail gun, you could strap a nail gun to a drone.
Worst ever.
Speaking of criminals, it's criminal to strap a nail gun to a drone, but that's exactly what these guys did.
So apparently, it is apparently illegal to attach weapons to drones, but
is a nail gun a weapon?
A nail gun is not a weapon.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Oh man, all of Home Depot should be. It's dangerous in there.
So dangerous.
So dangerous.
Some researchers at the University of Michigan have apparently come up with a strong case for why you should want to attach a nail gun to a drone, which is they apparently came up with a way for somebody to roof their house autonomously with drones.
Oh my god!
Which I thought was awesome. I'm like, so they took
Did they do it?
Yeah, they actually have prototypes of drones that will deliver packages up of shingles. They'll bring them up to the roof. They'll use the other drone to nail them down, and they can totally re-roof all on their own because you can just program up the drone.
This sounds completely asinine. Like, it sounds like ridiculous science fiction crap that you watch in a movie. They're like, oh, it's the future. Of course drones are going to be roofing houses. And you watch like a horrible CGI drone like laying the shingles and shooting the nails in and stuff. And you watch it and you go, oh, that looks so hokey. I'm glad that we're never going to live in a universe where drones are roofing our houses. And now it's happening.
It is. So the only thing is they said that it's certainly not as fast as a professional roofer, but they're working on it.
Yet.
Not as fast and clearly more expensive, but how cool is it?
And the big thing is they don't have the safety concern either. So, I mean, imagine
true.
What is your insurance if you have a roofer fall off of the roof versus you just lost a drone because it fell out of the sky?
Drones place than a person.
Well, unless Skynet gets a hold of that drone and it starts nailing people to the ground all over the place. I mean,
true. Skynet. We always forget about Skynet.
Skynet, and this is in the sky.
But how is it going to nail me to the ground? Would it nail me to the roof?
It's going to nail you to something. I wasn't trying to be totally gross about it.
It's going to nail you.
It's got nails. You're going to get nailed to something, okay?
You're getting nailed.
Not
when
if
we
I nail it first.
Ooh. When we did construction in high school, we worked for this guy over the summer, and he's probably listening right now. But we did construction for him, and the hottest week of the summer, he decides that it's a great idea for us to build an outdoor grain bin.
That's how it works.
Giant 2x4s and all kinds of ridiculous plywood and BS. And but what he did was he was like, all right, guys, we need like 20 of these built. So, start working on that. And I'm going to go over here where there was air conditioning, and he got to hang out, drink, and Gatorade and eating bonbons, and I don't know what all he was doing. He was BSing with a bunch of the farmers in town, and we were out there sweating our balls off trying to make this grain bin. So what did? We started playing shoot the rats with the nail gun, and I don't think we killed any. I don't know that we hit any, but we did waste a lot of nails. Then we started doing other games like, I wonder if we can shoot this nail up in the air and catch it. And we always got scared that it was going to puncture a giant hole in our hand. So we never caught one, but we got real close a couple of times. And he'd always come out and he's like, how much closer are you guys getting? And we're like, oh, we're almost done with this one. He's like, it's been 5 hours. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's really hot out here.
Now someone's going to get their
mouth. Then you don't end up with holes in your hands.
Good point. There's already a hole in my mouth. So
students at Michigan are going to get their degree in whatever using a drone to shoot nails into shingles. Amazing.
Yeah, I give this a thumbs up. I like this idea because if I could have a roofing business and not pay a single person to do it, that sounds like a good way to make money.
Well, there you go. Thumbs up for innovation.
What's not innovative is storming Area 51.
Now, that's something I'd like to do someday.
Well, you could have done it last weekend.
Great. This podcast is now on a watch list, Dad.
So I thought that this was like the. Did anybody follow this or have any clue what's going on? Because it sounds.
I kind of heard about it. Yeah, I kind of heard about it.
This thing I've ever heard of. It's like a bunch of people. It was supposed to be this weekend. A bunch of people showed up at 2:30 in the morning on September 20th to quote unquote storm Area 51.
They can't stop all of us.
They can.
So like that was the initial like thing I saw that was like they can stop some of us, but they can't stop all of us. I was like, maybe if you had enough, that might be true. But then later I was like, no, it's not. They would just gun you all down.
Considering I think the U.S. has enough bombs and munitions to destroy everybody on the world, I don't think a large group of people would be. Well,
at least our national defense would be going towards something, right? Am I right?
Yeah. One of my favorite comments related to this was like somebody was like, it's like miles and miles from the fence to the base. So they just have to wait for the neckbeards to tire out and then go pick them up in trucks with like Mountain Dews and Monsters.
All right, that was a good effort, guys. We're going to drop you off of the fence and you can give it another go.
Apparently there was one woman who tried to step under the gate, but authorities quickly grabbed her and pulled her away. Like, what did you do?
Did they pull her away to the base?
Probably.
That's what she was going for. That's her whole goal. Now she's in like a giant hamster wheel, and they're watching her.
So,
but she gets to see all the aliens.
She's interacting with the aliens right now.
Yeah. Apparently, all the people who were there were super excited, and I love this video on the side of this article that has the dude Naruto running in the background of the.
I saw that.
It's so good.
Oh, I love that.
So I can't wait until we see somebody come out with a documentary about this. Thumbs down.
Yeah, this was a pretty stupid idea.
I'm just sad that Guy Fieri wasn't there to make his alien barbecue wings or something, whatever he said.
You know what? You needed those guys that broke into that state courthouse to break into Area 51.
Oh my God! Why didn't we think of that?
That's what we're gonna do.
Genius.
I'm not. That's not on my list of things.
Well, we can't on here.
Oh,
we're
Brian.
live right now.
Sometimes,
man.
Brian, you're a real dummy.
Just sometimes. Yeah.
Just
Wow,
sometimes.
you're feeling generous tonight.
You know what's a real dumb move is spending money when the bank accidentally deposits it in your bank account.
Uh-oh.
Which apparently
Is this did this person operate under the if the teacher doesn't show up for 10 minutes class is canceled rule?
probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
So apparently a couple in Pennsylvania got deposited what was it, like $120,000 into their bank account, and it was an accident, and the couple was like, free money, and went and spent all of it, and now they're facing felony charges.
Of course you are, because you just stole money. Like, it's an accident. It's not reasonable. So, like, so there was a thread on this around when this happened on Reddit, and somebody said, like, has this ever happened to you? Like, somebody told a story, and I can't remember if it was, I don't think it was them, but they were telling a story of, like, a thing they saw one time. Is that this happened, like, a bank deposited a crap load of money. It was like $100,000 or $200,000 or something like that into this person's account. And then the person didn't do anything with it. Like, they sat on it for like a while. And when it became like, when they got comfortable with like, they haven't noticed within, like a few days, a week or two, like they'll notice eventually, but maybe just not that soon. So he took the money, and I think he put it in a high yield savings account. Or in multiples, like, to get like interest earned off of it. And then when they came knocking, like, years later, he was like, oh yeah, I got your money right here, but I'm keeping the interest. and it shook out that they were like, yeah, that sounds good. Like, we're just happy to not have to account for like $200,000.
I was just gonna ask if you
That
put
is
it in
crazy.
if you put it into something where you could get an interest, if you could keep the interest. So, or could you just charge the bank for interest?
I'm not sure how that would work tax-wise, though. Like, well,
Interest
as
is
long
a taxable income, so it should.
So
be...
yeah, if he paid taxes on the interest, but the problem is he received $200,000 without paying taxes on it.
He didn't receive that money. That money was never his.
That's true. It was never his
True.
money. They just didn't come knocking. So the IRS would probably, again, we're not, tax people, so consult a tax professional if this ever happens to you. And they should probably tell you to contact the bank. But if they don't, the IRS probably would have been fine as long as he paid taxes on his gains, right?
That's
Like,
what I would think.
I mean,
yeah.
It was never his money, so why would he pay taxes on it?
what would
Wasn't-
TurboTax say?
That's a great question.
TurboTax.
It's just
type
deposit.
that into the help
Deposit.
button.
Even if they
Other.
tried to tax you on the $200,000, you could write it off as a loss because they came and took it away from you.
Well, you simply
It zeroes out.
wouldn't declare it as like because you wouldn't get. Yeah, you would. You wouldn't declare the 200,000 as like income that you received. Right. You would have no sheet of. There would be no record showing
you earned it.
Like there's no like 10 whatever or like IRS official document. What you
Right.
would, however, get are the IRS I can't remember the numbers for them. The interest statements
It's like a 1099 or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
From the company where your accounts are, where you're earning interest. So you'd pay taxes on that and be good.
Actually, you'd probably get a tax break on the $200,000 loss after it disappears because you won't have it as a revenue.
It's a donation.
Now you're talking.
Now this is how rich
Now
people stay
we're
rich,
thinking.
Brian.
Now we're thinking.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Don't spend it if this ever happens to you.
What
That's
I'm
for sure.
amazed
Smart
about-
though that he did that because I thought you were going to say that he like took it to Vegas to like try and triple his money real fast.
Well, what I'm
And then it
amazed
didn't
about
work.
is that these people had it for about 3 weeks in their account, and in a day they spent $107,000.
That's insane. So
Buddy.
That's a
We
lot
can
of
come-
money.
We can come up with an analogy.
That's probably honestly what tipped off the bank. If they
What
had
did
just
they buy?
if they had just moved it over to a
Their
savings
house,
account,
maybe?
They
That'd be
bought
hilarious.
a SUV, a race car, and 2 4-wheelers, and then handed out $15,000 to their friends.
Oh my god!
Oh.
I can't believe they didn't think that they were going to get totally kicked in the nuts on this.
are the friends like
Their
in
friends
trouble?
are accomplices. They're all in
I
jail
would
too.
assume.
So I can come up with not an exact, but like an analogy-ish scenario to this. Say you find like 10 grand in a paper bag on the street.
Uh-huh.
You know it's not yours, but you found it. Like I don't know what legal amount of like due diligence you have to like find the owner of that. But I know what moral you should have, which is like, you should probably report it and all that stuff. But say you don't. This is the same scenario that these people did. They found $10,000. You find $10,000 in a bag on the street, and you spend it all, and then it comes back like it wasn't yours to spend. Like, what happens if the cops come after you like a day later and they're like, "Oh no, like that bag was." Whatever. But if instead I had taken that $10,000 and just held it in a high yield savings account, like I'm not going to get in trouble for having put it somewhere, am I?
I wouldn't think so, because I mean, essentially what happened here is the bank came back and said, "Hey, you guys spent $110,000. You owe us $110,000."
Right. So like if somebody legally comes after me for their 10 grand that I found in a bag on the street and it was theirs and it's not, and I know it's not mine, they're probably just going to want their 10 grand back. They don't care about the interest you earned off of it.
Right.
Sounds like a parable.
I mean, to be fair, if I found a bag of 10 grand sitting on the street, I think that falls under the rules of finders keepers.
Do you? Do you think it's finders keepers?
Yes. Yes. If you're walking across the Walmart parking lot and a $10 bill comes floating by in the wind, you go back inside and spend it on some amazing thing at Walmart. I'm thinking if a bag of 10.
What amazing are you gonna buy at Walmart?
How should I know? I'll wander around the store for an hour and I'll find something. I'm just saying, if a bag in the parking lot of a Walmart has $10,000 in it, the same thing applies.
Me? I don't know, dude. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, one time I found a check.
I think if you like, and maybe this is just urban myth, but I had heard or remember seeing somewhere that if you find like that kind of money in a bag somewhere and you report it and it's not claimed after a certain amount of time, I think it's yours unless they have like reason to hold it and think it's like
drug money or something.
Right, exactly.
That's one reason that I wouldn't go hand in a whole bunch of cash.
So, like, the thing you should be worried about is, aside from you found $10,000 on the street, and if you just picked it up, somebody might have a hit out on you for their drug money. Maybe there's a lot more. Like, it needs to be a bigger sum to be drug money, but for 10 grand, right? Like, if you don't declare that on your taxes, like, you don't want the IRS crawling up your ass. Like, say you get audited, and they're like, "Where'd that 10,000?" Yeah, I guess. I mean, but if they could do an audit that is like depending on what you buy, but yeah, I mean, what do you put that on your taxes? Just other income found.
You probably could. You probably could actually put it on as a.
This is a
other.
Although you do have according to the IRS, you do have a one-time gift of up to $10,000 that you can give to your spouse.
That's no.
I'm pretty sure though you could probably pay a percentage to the IRS and they'd be like, "I don't care what you found."
Because all they care about is getting their cut. That is literally all they care about. So like that's why it's like a weird scenario. Like say somebody is a sex worker in a state where prostitution is a crime.
Sure.
Like
government doesn't care.
Right, the government doesn't like the IRS is not going to come after you for being a prostitute. They just want
they will if you don't pay your taxes.
They will if you do not pay your taxes. So you put it on there as income and you pay your taxes and they don't ask any fucking questions. So that's like I'm actually curious now if you find money on the street,
Okay, I'm reading
Like
an
say,
article.
That's how they
Brian's
got-
scenario.
That's how
I
they
found
got Al Capone. So
yeah, on
know.
tax evasion. But say I'm
just-
Brian. I'm in a Walmart parking lot and I stumble across $50. If I or $200, like enough money to matter, but not enough to like be a huge amount. Am I obligated to pay taxes on the money that I found? Is it income?
Probably.
I'm gonna Google this. This is an interesting question.
So
Well, you could
I
call
just
it a
Googled-
hobby job.
This is a loophole. From now on, I'm gonna have my employer take out cash and drop it on the ground, and I'm gonna find it.
Actually, so
this
how great would
article
it be
says-
if you got your paycheck in a paper bag, and when you got your paycheck, it was just a treasure map, and you had to go find it?
Oh, no, now we're
But
talking.
I think okay. So I just Googled.
This says if you find the money, your legal obligation
All
is
right,
to
here we go.
get with your
So-
attorney, take it to the police, and wait for the length of time. They don't. If no one claims it from the police, then you can have the money. It just depends. That length of time is different for each jurisdiction. So
We are
that's what you should
dangerously
do.
Close to
So-
getting real advice on this podcast.
I'm not giving real advice. I started.
I just said we're
Googled-
dangerously close.
We're dangerously close to having viewers too. So
I Googled, do I have to pay taxes on money I found on the ground?
There you go.
And my hunch was already, yeah, you absolutely do need to pay taxes on that. And this first thing that pops up is essentially somebody asking the same question. It's on foxbusiness.com. And the
See, I was looking at
Federal-
CNNbusiness.com.
federal tax law, specifically IRS Code Section 61, states gross income means all income from whatever source derived, which is written super broadly, like on purpose. Like they want you to pay taxes on anything that could be considered income to you.
Okay, so Matt, you're walking in the Walmart parking lot and you pick up a penny. Do you claim that on your taxes?
I don't know if there's a minimum amount. This little
No. I'm just asking
here's
you.
the loop. Here's the
Do
loophole.
I? Do I know?
Here's the loophole. Here's the loophole on that though. If
you go back into Walmart and you
say
spend
that
that penny.
your hobby job is picking up money on the ground, you can pick up to like, I think it's like $5,000 of a hobby that you are doing. That's like, they call it hobby income. And if you have $5,000 of hobby income, I think that you don't have to pay taxes on it because they're
really?
like, I can't remember if it's $5,000 or like $2,500.
So like if you made model airplanes for fun and people bought them from you to the
And you
tune of
made-
less than that limit a year.
Yeah. Then they're like, yeah, whatever. Your hobby accounts for basically nothing. Whatever. My
What if
hobby
your
is
is finding wallets in people's back pockets.
You're essentially like they're accounting
Yes.
for probably you just funding your hobby by doing your hobby.
yeah, pretty much.
I mean, I put the
that's
wallets
idea.
back without the money.
I know this because like the first couple years that I was running my business, that was what happened. Because it was on the side. I had a day job and I was doing this and I was spending enough money on equipment that it brought my income for videography down enough that they're like, oh wow, you're basically making nothing doing this, so we're not going to charge you taxes on it.
You still have to claim your income. It's just you will get tax deductions for it.
Got it. So if I like claim all of my mileage for the entire year for my job of finding money on the ground, I can write off all of it.
Correct.
So I'm reading more
That would
on
be
this,
correct.
and again, we are not experts on this. So consult your tax professional whenever you find money on the ground.
Actually, my advice is if I found a penny on the ground, I'm going to mail it to the IRS. Postage
Ooh.
collect.
Putting a figure on line 21 does not indicate illegal income. It's a catch-all for many types of miscellaneous income. The reporting requirement would be much more nefarious if they had an explicit line number for illegal income on your taxes. The IRS return is confidential. It can be disclosed under court order, but they can't alert law enforcement unless it involves terrorism. So, in theory, no agency would know to file a court order to have it disclosed. So Yeah, maybe you find $100,000 on the ground, and I would definitely report that to the IRS as found money because I want it to be on the up and up, and probably the police. But at this, like,
I did the right thing the other day. I was in Walmart for serious, and I was doing the self checkout, and when the self checkout I walk up to, there is $100 in cash hanging out.
Well, it's 5 minutes ago, Brian. That's free money.
So I took it and I handed it to the clerk, and I said, "Who was just here?" And she ran out into the parking lot, found the person, and gave them their money.
Props.
Oh,
Nice.
Wow.
Now,
that
the
is
next
a feel-good story for the ages.
Next time I find a penny, though, I'm going to take it to the cops, and I'm going to wait for the period of time. And if no one comes in to claim it, I'm going to come in and get my penny.
I think, Brian, we need to use our common sense on the size of some.
one time I found a check. It was a check or a couple of checks that amounted to like $50,000 or something.
What?
Yeah, it was in Ames. It was on like the corner of Beach and Lincoln Way.
Well, checks are, still a big deal, but should be less of an issue.
It was less. I looked at it and was
They
like,
were all
sweet,
written to cash.
I can do nothing with this. I can literally do nothing with this. I'll just have to report it to the police. But like, I took it to the office, and I was working at Hickson Building then, so I went into the office. I was like, "Hey, look, I just made $50,000," and they're like, "What?" And I was like, "Not really. It's just a bunch of paper checks. It's just a bunch of checks that I cannot cash because I'm not going to go forge my signature on the back of these and deposit it because, first of all, I'm pretty sure my bank would say there's a limit. You can't actually deposit that much money. You have a college student bank account, and we don't let you have money in here because you're going to spend it on stupid stuff." But like, I'm not going to forge a signature. I know that that's like a huge, like, depositing money that people may not ever know about. That's a lot less traceable than a check. So I called the police, and they're like, just hang on to it there, and we'll send somebody by to get it or something. I was like, okay, cool. But then I started like looking up online so I could be like extra helpful and be like, hey, look, cops, I did your job for you, but also I'm just nosy. And like the checks seem to be from like a fake company somewhere. Because I looked up and like, oh, look, here's their website. And then I started clicking on things that they did, and it just like went to a bunch of blank pages. I was like, this is super sketchy. It looked like some like industrial park building thing that, I don't know. It was like super janky. Like, they never contacted me for more information. I'm really sad I didn't get to go to the court hearing about it. If they had one, they never let me know. I feel like I was a good eyewitness,
Nice job.
I could have sat on the stand and said, "No, Your Honor, I found that check. It was not given to me."
This person makes a pretty good point. The process of legitimizing found cash does not involve the IRS, but by declaring it, you will at least not be charged with tax evasion in addition to any other crime there may or may not be for not reporting found cash. If you wish to instead report cash and try to obtain legal right to it, that's a different question. See lost, mislaid, and abandoned property. You would not want to pay taxes on it until you have secured legal rights to it. This is where Brian's penny thing comes in. You gotta wait. But that means you may not take control of the funds. Using a lawyer and escrow service would be recommended. If you did pay taxes on it, you would not receive a refund in order to return the cash to the rightful owner or to satisfy a government forfeiture order. You'd get a deduction against future taxes, which may make you insolvent.
This is the most expensive penny I have ever found in my entire life.
It really is. You should have just left it on the ground.
I'm not even going to pick them up anymore.
Was it heads up? Yeah, so anyway, TLDR.
I
found some money on the ground. I mean, I just like everybody else, I've found like a 10 or a 20 on the ground before.
Yeah. I feel like that's fine. If I find a 10 or 20 at a cash register, like B-Dog did, then, I'd probably try and figure out who it could go to.
There's also a difference between that's pretty good. Like that's a good example. There's a difference between just finding $10 or $20 on the ground or watching somebody drop $10 or $20.
Yeah. One time,
you see it happen, you got to be like, hey, this is like you dropped your money. But if you just happen upon it, like that $10 or $20 is yours. Like
I found $5 one time in the parking lot out here. I was like, sweet. There are like 1,000 people who live here. I'm not going to go knocking door to door trying to figure out $5 was.
Moral
That's
obligation.
where you get in line at the local McDonald's and pay it forward. That type of thing.
That's
not a bad idea.
Yeah, I put my winter jacket on once and I found $20 in the pocket. That was pretty awesome.
Ooh, did you contact the IRS?
$20. I don't think.
Take it to the police.
Man, Brian's really hammering me for this. All right, Brian. The next time you find $100,000 in a bag, you do what the fuck you want with it. You're gonna end up dead.
That's just it though. Like that type of money, I feel like they've traced that type of money. If you find that much money, I go,
I wouldn't want any part of that.
I don't want to be a part of this. Yeah, this is too much.
I mean, I want part of it if I can legally get part of it.
Right,
so that's
exactly.
That get a lawyer and turn it in, and it's probably worth the effort. Probably. On the off chance that it eventually becomes yours.
Yeah.
There you go.
I don't know. Anyone who's dropped $100,000,
we'll have you on.
They will be like, I got this selling drugs. I can't go to the cops and ask if anyone has found my bag of $100,000. So,
yeah,
good story. I'm going to give the whole topic a thumbs up.
What? This was just thumbs down. This entire thing. No, thumbs up for sure.
Unanimous decision.
This is a bunch of morons spent it.
Elon Musk, our pitch for the week collectively is, do more stuff with garbage so that the temperature doesn't go up anymore.
Are we even halfway through the topics?
We're done with the topics.
Fuck yeah. I didn't even look at them.
Wow.
I know that's a shock to you guys.
I was pretty sure you'd studied them quite extensively, but
wow, what gave you that idea?
All right, collectively do more. What did you say, Silas?
I just said collectively, all of us are saying do more with recycled stuff so that the temperature of the Earth doesn't go up anymore.
Yeah, I've said it before. I'll say it again. Steven Spielberg created Mr. Fusion.
Yep.
Make a Mr. Fusion. Got it.
Basically, yeah.
Pretty much. That's all we need.
Turn garbage into energy.
Perfect. I like it.
Yeah.
Grenergy. Garbage energy?
Menergy.
Energy garbage.
Energy for men.
All right, with that, I'm going to call this council meeting adjourned. Thank you for listening. We do record this podcast live Tuesday nights on YouTube. And if you liked what you saw and want to check out all of our past episodes, you can go to CouncilCast.org.
Dope.
You cannot find any legal advice there, so please don't go there for that.
Don't
but you
listen
can
to us
find
for that either.
audio files on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher. If you want a topic for us to discuss and make a decision on, you can email us at councilcast@gmail.com or connect with us on Twitter at RealCouncilCast.
Have we ever gotten an email?
No.
Oh.
But thank you for listening.
It's saddening.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Beh.